Hi, this is Barbara Sanders, and this is Sacred Metamorphoses, my new YouTube channel. And I will introduce Tom Rutledge, who is here in Nashville with me on Zoom. And I will talk in just a moment. But first, I want to introduce Tom. And I also want to ask if you'd like to subscribe. There's a button to click at the bottom. Tom, I think I met you 30 to 35 years ago when you were marketing director for Tennessee Christian, was it?
Wow, good memory. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and he was a wild guy. Let me talk to you actually. You
Mhm.
were a wild guy. You were out there. I really admired and respected you for being out there because most people I hung around, mental health people, were kind of quiet and to themselves.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then I went to a party at your place, and I remember you holding a jug of either bourbon or scotch. I forget which kind, but it was a big one. And I thought,
Mhm.
well, he's a party guy. And those are my first two memories of you.
That's
And
right. It would be Scotch, by the way. And
oh,
bourbon, no way.
okay,
No,
that's
no.
what you
Come
mean.
on,
Okay.
get over it.
The other thing I know about you is that you're married to a wonderful woman named Dee Dee Beasley, who has been
Mhm.
all sorts of things in life. And I know one is an equine therapist.
Mhm.
I just thought Dee Dee actually taught my child some about how to ride, and that was
Oh,
fun.
yeah.
Yeah, and I was in a group with her, an experiential group, and that was really fun too. And
Mhm.
I've done that. Oh, and the other thing we didn't decide earlier, but we also have a connection with someone who died not too long ago, Vince Parrish.
Mhm.
And I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about him, but Vince Parrish, I loved, and I think I know Tom loved. And Vince was, let me just say a few things about Vince. Vince was Mr. Social Worker par excellence. He
Mhm.
trained so many social workers and other counselors and therapists in town because we had to get ethics hours every year or two. And so Tom and I would show up at these ethics workshops. We'd see
Mhm.
all these people we hadn't seen in a year or two and, hang out with them. And then Vince, unfortunately, had us heckle him a lot and laugh a lot and
Mhm.
make
Mhm.
jokes a lot. And I think he may have wanted to separate us when we were
Well, the
sitting.
way you just did that sentence, he had us do it like he put us up to it or asked us to it. I'm pretty sure he didn't. He
It was
we just couldn't
subliminal.
help ourselves, and we were saying, yeah, and it was still going to happen even if they separated us. So it's like, what the
That's
hell?
true. Okay, thank you. He did not set that up.
No.
We were bad children and
I think some
had a
people.
lot
I,
of
I
fun.
don't. I don't think Vince ever got really pissed off at us, but I think there's some really serious social workers, and I think there are several of them that might have been a little irritated at us. So.
Well, and this is why I like you so much, Tom, because not many people want to play with me. They
Mhm.
think I'm a little outrageous or a little loud, and I try to be
Mhm.
quiet sometimes. But when I'm around people like you, I just let go, and people don't like it. My family didn't like it. My
Isn't it
husband,
amazing? Yeah,
I
it's
don't
like
like it.
and everybody and to me, one of my favorite compliments. I had a client that I had referred to another therapist in town. I can't remember what for, but for something specific to look at. And when she came back, she said, "Well, when I told her that you were my therapist, she made kind of a funny face, and this is what she said about you. She said Tom Rutledge." And then she held her hand up. Apparently that's flighty. I don't know. It's like, but I took it immediately as a compliment. It's like, and thought, people have always, I don't know if this is true for you, but people have always thought I'm stranger than I actually am.
I talked to your wife about that once. She was like, why are you so having so much fun with him? He's just like a guy, he's just my
Mhm. Right.
pretty funny. That you're funny. Okay, so I want to be professional about this, Tom. And this
All
is going
right. Well, this
to
is as
go just
professional as
a little
you and
bit.
I get, but I
Okay.
want to say I pulled out a fairly recent journal to look through this morning just to get my mind in the right place. And on the very back cover of that, dated July 15th, 2022, which is sometime before Vince died, quite a while. It says, it says right here, Vince Parrish is one of the very best people I have ever known. And that is a description of Vince Parrish. He may be the best person I've ever known, but he may tie if he is, there's others that I've known that way, but it's like he's yeah, you don't want to compare yourself to Vince is the way I figured out a long time ago because I'm not going to do that.
No, and I talked to my husband who also liked Vince a lot. Vince liked my
Hmm.
husband. He had philosophy in his background.
Hmm.
And John wanted me to mention that I remember when we would contact Vince because we were in an ethical dilemma of some sort with our clients at different times. And we would talk with Vince. I would rely on him. Boy, I was like, Vince, what about this? Am I in trouble with ethics
Hmm.
or licensing board? And he would talk with me and soothe me and help me understand what I needed to do. And then I would say, well, how do I pay you for this? And he would say, well, there's this fund in Louisiana that I would really like you to send this amount of money to. And John brought that up the other day. It's like, and he said it was to RASAC, the Rape and Sexual Abuse Center, that he would
Hmm.
ask to give money to. And that, talk about generosity,
Yep.
Vince. And I missed his memorial service. So partly Tom and I thought we would have a seance and try to bring Vince into this. So I don't guess I can interview him here on my YouTube channel. So I think we need to bring Vince in as some sort of third leg of this triangle. And how do we
Well,
do
maybe we need to get our old Vince group together
it?
and do a seance.
Yeah, and Vince even let us do a workshop with him once. It was
Yeah.
Dorothy Gager, Kathy Wood Stoppins, and Tom and me.
Uh-huh.
And then Tom, you and I talked about thinking about going around and doing training for people. In
Yeah,
the
we even came up with a training program and we're trying to sell it out to for Campbell. Yeah.
That's right. And we were real political too. We lean a little
Hmm.
left politically. And what
Hmm.
happened though is Tom sounded like, from what you told me, you prepare for trainings like you just show up and you talk. And
Hmm.
I am so the opposite, or in the past
Hmm.
I've been. I have to plan everything and write it down. So it's like, this isn't going to work very well, but we didn't get hired anyway. So
Right, right. It's yeah, I know it's nerve-wracking to me too, but because I've never planned anything in my life, but it's like because if I do, then it's I mean, this goes into it's really more of it goes into more philosophy and spirituality to me because the truth is I'm not, you know,
that's
I'm not the guy who does the presentation, for instance. It's like I figured out a while back, but I was just nervous. I would be so nervous about presenting. And then I realized, I can't remember how I did or if somebody helped me do that, but I realized that the reason I was nervous is because of the me that just walks around in his day-to-day life, and goes about his business and does therapy doesn't have a clue about how to stand up in front of a group of people and do that. It's like, but there is another part of me that steps in there, and that's not multiple personality. It's just different. It's what I call intrapersonal, work. It's like he steps in there, and it's like once I got to that place where I could realize. I was a little nervous, but I always knew the question I would ask myself is, has he ever not shown up? And now, one of the things I would say, he thinks it's funny. I think he thinks it's funny to show up about 2 minutes into the presentation. He leaves me literally standing in front of a bunch of people, stumbling around, and then
and kicks
he's
in.
there. You probably have one of those people, right?
Thinking, yeah, and it comes out in my writing more. Well, I'm not even sure it's me though. See, I think it's more being channeled
Well, that's yeah. We don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could do. We could talk about what what's channeling with as a writer, and what's
Right.
a higher part of myself that a smarter because things I've written throughout my career is like most of the time it's smarter than I am. So it's like um
Good
and
point. And that's what I
yeah.
want to say. So Tom is a licensed clinical social worker in the recovery business at Time
Hmm.
and other stuff. And he's also a podcaster, an author of, I don't know how many books you can tell us. But one thing I think about you, Tom, how many years was it? You wrote a book called Embracing Fear.
Hmm.
It was before my colleagues and I were even talking about fear or
Hmm.
knowing really how it manifested in us personally. And you
Hmm.
were out there, 25 years ago or whenever you wrote that book, talking about fear, which was just fabulous. I
Hmm.
appreciated that. You're also a radio host, or used to be. And
Yeah.
last but not least, is that you are a magician. And Tom may not be able to do his magic here, but you'll watch him, and he's a real musician. And in fact, I asked you once to come to Nashville Psychotherapy Institute to do a presentation. And
Hmm.
I forget what you presented. You might have talked. You probably walked in with that higher self on your shoulder, and
Hmm.
then you did magic tricks, which was just fabulous. And
And which is, yeah, which, I mean, my therapist for many years was Linda Odom, Linda, and it's like, and kind of a good mix for me because Linda's not hilarious. She's a much more serious person. And when she learned that I was going to speak to NPI, I hadn't seen her in therapy for years, but this is my therapist. She said, "No, don't do that." She said, she, she said, you can't do that. They're not going to understand you. It's like,
well,
I thought, well,
that's how I invited you. I wanted to hear what you had to say and to see your magic trick.
I
And it
did
was my
fine. I
choice.
mean,
My,
go ahead.
it was my choice to invite you, so I got to do
I know,
it.
I'll tell you this story. I don't know if I've ever told you this, but I put on one of my most faded pair of blue jeans and a Hawaiian shirt to come in and do it. And like I always did back in those days, I had a suitcase full of books to put at the back of the room, see if I could get somebody to give me some money. Um, um, but I got up there and I made everybody laugh for a while. We had a good time and but there was a woman I wish I knew who she was because I really respected what she did after this thing. She told me because she didn't have to say this. She told me she said she said I really enjoyed what you did, and I want to apologize to you because when I first saw you walk in with that suitcase, I was hoping you had a change of clothing in there. It's
Oh,
like so I mean she was just that was just humility. She was just acknowledging like I'm going like I'm judging this guy and but she came up and said I really enjoyed what you did and had no judgment left over that. So that was one of the best compliments I'd ever gotten, I think.
compliment. And partly in your books, what you're talking about is anxiety, fear, and all that other stuff that we all have
Hmm.
to wrangle with, whether we use substances as addictive things or not.
Hmm.
All of us are struggling with that stuff. And so I'm going to stop now introducing you because it's just gone on far too long. And you are
Hmm.
being yourself, but do you want to say anything about yourself and your practice or anything about your life and or your path that will intrigue and be really important for us to hear? I'm setting you up.
Yeah, yeah, I have a list here. It's like, no, thank you. Thanks for, first of all, thanks for doing this. This new now, is this a podcast or is this what's the difference in a podcast and a YouTube
I don't
thing?
know. I didn't think of it as a podcast. I just wanted to have a YouTube channel and talk to people and converse with them and see.
Okay, I think that's what it is, a YouTube channel. I appreciate that, and I think it's going to be great. And how many of these have you already done?
Probably 5 or 6 now.
Do you have fun? Are they fun?
Most of them are fun.
Good. Okay. Good.
No, here's the thing. I'm enjoying it. It's what you do with presentation. I can come to this. I don't have to prepare a lot. It does not stress me out. I enjoy it because I'm inviting people that I like to talk to and I haven't talked to in a long time. So
Right.
it's fun for me.
Yeah.
That's why I'm doing
Yeah.
it. It's fun for
Well,
me.
that's what I always tell my clients. I said, come on to therapy and it's going to be fun for one of us. It's like, and I go like, it might be some fun for you. You never know. But no, I'd love, well, I'll just say this. Um, I love that we have the connection that we've known each other for as long as we have. And just, I mean, so many, there are people we know in common from back in the day where I've forgotten who they are, It's like, I saw a couple of people at Vince's memorial service that as soon as I heard their name, it was like they were back, but I had not thought of them in decades.
Mhm.
It's like in some ways, getting older is fun, and that's I mean, other than the fact that I hurt for no good reason, it's like I like being older. It's like
I do too.
it's kind of cool, and but like my friend Evelyn always said, you know, Evelyn Stewart, you may have known her. Before she was not, she was the uh, top social worker at St. Thomas. She worked with Vince
Mhm.
at that. She's hilarious. I will tell you this real quickly. She her husband had died not long ago. And because this is what we said you and I were going to talk about. We're going to talk about dead people because let's talk about what it feels like to have all these people dying and that we know. And her husband had died, and she had let me know that. And then even before his memorial service, Vince had died, so I let her know that, and she texted me back and this is how Evelyn thinks. She texted me back and said, "We better take cover. They're picking us off one by one."
That is funny. I would like her.
You would love her. She is
Yeah.
she and Vince were the two people who could soar clever things right over my head. I mean, they are. I mean, sometimes if I got some text from them, it would take me a while to read it and understand. I knew they were goofing with me, but it was just hard to figure out what it was. It was so cool. But anyway, I love
Let's,
I love that we know each other for that long, and it's like it just make you remember. I mean, and it's amazing to me because it really seems like, in a way, I'm remembering a whole nother life. It's like, kind of like reincarnation in one lifetime. It's like how many other lives have I lived since, you know, um, you were presenting at a group that we were a professional organization, and then we were meeting at Monroe Harding. I remember and this is how inappropriate we were, and how inappropriate, how bad we were in our society. It's like my friend Gary was birthday, and I had a belly dancer come in the middle of that meeting to dance for him. I'm going like, I'm pretty sure I couldn't get away with that now, but it's but and bless your heart, you were the one talking when she came in. So
yeah, yeah. And you know what? I don't remember that clearly. So thank you for bringing that
as
up.
you, well,
Oh,
that's this. The association is for a reason.
that's
It
right.
helps us to be able to split off
Oh,
and forget these
that would
things.
be
It's
a
like
wonderful thing to remember, though. Thank you.
it was pretty funny. But I'll go back to what you were saying. I just loved done this for I'm thinking 40-ish years, and we were joking about this earlier, but it's really the truth that it's. I'm very grateful I'm extremely grateful that I have this job where I have been able to sit in this office for 35 years. We've been here for 35 years, and and people will come see me, and because of the books that I've written, this is also an advantage I have over some other people that are in practice. Because of the books I've written, most often when people come to see me, they're specifically coming to see me, not just coming to see a therapist. They already know something about me. They know some, they want some particular things from me, and I do even before the COVID thing, I did a lot of remote work, Zoom and telephone and that kind of stuff with people because readers all over the place would want to talk to me and this it's just such a it's such a nice thing to be able to do and because I just really call it being helpful for a living. That's what we've spent our lives doing, Barbara. We have conversations with people, and yeah, you can think this theory or that theory or what we can do this or we can get fascinated with learning different stuff, but ultimately that's all we're doing. It's because I mean, how different have you been through the years in terms of your approach to therapy? I mean, would we even be able to recognize if we brought our younger selves forward and to watch us work now? Would they even know what we're doing? It's like But it's like, that's not the point. The point is, are you being helpful?
Right. And being
Yeah.
in a relationship with someone, it is an honor, actually.
Hmm. Yeah,
When it
absolutely.
brings so much intimacy into our lives in a different way than friends or family do.
Hmm.
It is a hard, I will say, a hard profession to stop doing, but I needed to stop doing for a while, and who knows what I'll do next. But you're still working hard, and
Hmm.
you used to also run a lot of groups, I remember.
I love groups.
Still?
I bet you do too, don't
Yeah,
you?
I do. I
Yeah.
love groups. Yeah.
It's like when Trish, my partner Trish was alive, of course we did it when she was alive. We wouldn't do it when she's dead. That would be ridiculous. It's like sit up, Trish. It's
Trish,
like
Trish Sanders.
Trish Sanders. She and I did group. We didn't know we did, but the very last group we were closing down. We hit at one point through the 90s when group was all the rage. It's like I wouldn't she wasn't doing all of them with me. I was doing 6 groups a week, and they were always full. It was like so we did several of those groups together, and we were closing down our last group, a Wednesday night group we'd had forever. And one of the clients who had been there long term pointed out that we've been doing this for 25 years. Neither one of us had counted it up. And we realized we did groups together for 25 years. And that was fun. And groups are a whole different matter. I think they're so much fun, and every one of them, well, it's just like an individual client. Every group has its own personality, you
Mhm.
know.
And just to help people know that, yes, we might have fun as therapists, but it's also really important work. And I'm not trying to bring you down off your fun, but it's it's really important work that we don't just sit around and tell jokes and laugh. That's what we do with each other, right?
Right, right.
Don't necessarily do that with clients, or they wouldn't come to us and pay us money to just listen to our jokes. And Tom's an even better performer than I am. And so but I think you might have said therapist, being a therapist is a bit of a performance art.
Hmm.
It's not.
Well, yeah, I had I did an interview many years ago, sort of about how I came to do what I do and how I do it, and they asked for significant role models, and I listed 2 of them. One was a woman in Atlanta, Georgia, Jackie Damgard, that Dee Dee and I went to training, some postgraduate training with for 2 years, and who just transformed how I thought. I don't know if I think it did transform how I work, but it certainly transformed how I thought about work. And she really taught me how to join with the client. But the other person that I listed, it just I didn't even didn't think it. I just was just popped in my head. Well, the other thing was a fellow named Red McCarthy, who was a guy from my hometown that taught me how to do magic, and taught me and what he you know what and what he one of the things he taught me. He was an amazing magician, more skilled than I would ever be, but he always talked about how to present it. It wasn't about what you're presenting, it's how you presented, the showmanship of it. And it's amazing. At first I realized I use a lot of that when I'm doing a presentation, when I'm out in public, but a lot of it, in terms of just, it's not like I'm doing a show, but it's like being able to tune, because what he was teaching me is how to tune into an audience, and you do that with your one. It's just being a good perceiver and good listener. And it's like and I look back at that and I realized I learned as much from him about this stuff as anybody, because um, in order to, and it's just a different thing. And in order to entertain somebody, you have to know where they are, and go with them.
Interaction. It's
Yeah.
interaction, isn't
Yeah.
it?
It's all yeah, that's what I would say. Everything I do is interactional. It's like, it's the moment that there's not that, like before we got into Zoom and that stuff, but I was with a eating disorder organization out of Texas, and they had quite a website building, and they wanted to do presentations, phone presentations. So we did these phone presentations, and when it came my turn to do that, but they have like 80 people on the line, but they muted them all, so because there's too much noise in the background if you do. And then I'm to present. It's like, now I can't see anybody, I can't hear anybody, and I'm talking. It's like, I don't, I felt like I had nothing. I mean, there was nothing to bounce anything off of. I had no idea if somebody was tuned in, if they were laughing or if they weren't laughing. If it, it's like it was just, it was hell. I
Sounds
hated
fun.
that.
Yeah, because when you do in-person things too, it's like they might think they're getting a lecture or coming to it. This guy is going to present to them, and you get them involved quickly,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and that's what's
And
important.
this,
And you're not really a stand-up comedian, but you probably have done some of that, right?
well, I know. Well, I think stand-up comedians are the bravest people on the planet. It's like, and people must have said to me, because I did a lot of comedy when I actually did try to make a living as a magician for a while, and I enjoyed doing the magic, did pretty well with that, but I didn't come close to making a living. But it's like, but because I do that, people would say, well, you could do it, be a stand-up. And I go like, because I've got, if I'm as a presenter, I've got my topic to hide behind. As a magician, I have a magic trick to hide behind. People who walk up there and they're introduced, and people are basically saying, okay, here's Barbara Sanders. She's going to make you laugh for 10 minutes straight. It's like, how
What?
I don't think I would survive that. So
Right. Let's go back to death. How
yeah,
we age when people are being picked off?
picked off one by one. That's right.
Uh, how do you how do you see or handle or process that?
Well, um it's changing. I think it's changing the more I experience it.
Mhm.
It's 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 and it's not. I'm just free flying off of this stuff. It's like it's not, and it's not bad. It's like, because I think one of the things that definitely hope I'm getting over or have gotten over is the idea that we're gonna, at every death, we're gonna scream how unfair it is, and how what a tragedy it is. I had a client that one time that his 90-year-old grandfather had died, and he kept describing in the session as tragic. It's like, I we got around to that eventually, but I kept going like, how is that? I mean, he didn't die of any traumatic thing. He died of natural causes. It's like people knew he was going to die. The family was there when he died. It's like, it really says something more about our society and our denial for death.
Yeah.
Because in years and years and decades past, this was part of a family's life. You know.
And I'll tell you, the gift that my parents gave to me is that my dad was 91, I think, when he died and he had a GI bleed, which was very clear. And my
Hmm.
mother lived to 99 and a half. And
Wow.
finally the stroke that took her out. So it was like I was able, at least with those deaths, to process like their bodies are done. What a blessing that they could let
Mhm.
finally
Yeah, yeah, right.
over. But that's a different kind of death, as you were saying about your client.
Hmm.
It's a whole different kind of death than the first death of a friend. I think I was 46 and someone called me. I was driving on the interstate and you could talk on the phone while you're driving.
Hmm. Yeah.
Evelyn's dead. And I was like, what? I mean, it was like that she was found dead. And anyway, so those are different. And like you, maybe
Hmm.
I'm getting more practiced at it. And though I have to say, I really do believe there's energy. We are energy. There's energy all around us. We don't have to get in a big life after death thing, but I think
Hmm.
energy that doesn't go away, that I can go into past lives and reincarnation. I'm not sure what all that is. Some of it's comforting to not believe
Hmm.
the only thing we have is just one physical life. But I do sense that there are energies all around us. I'll see a butterfly or a bird and I'll say, hi, Mom, how you doing today?
Hmm.
Things like
Yeah.
that. So
Well,
that's kind of how I process it.
well, and the other thing is, I worked, I studied reincarnation and among other things in the 80s and 90s. I did some past life therapy and went to past life therapy and did some regressions with clients and and one of the things I tell that is the most beautiful thing about that is I tell about one particular teacher that she was probably the best teacher that I had about all that stuff. And I remember it being in a conversation. I don't know if I asked the question or somebody else asked, but somebody asked the question, did she believe, this is who was teaching us to do past life regression, and asked her if she believed in reincarnation. And I was surprised because she paused and then you could tell she was thinking, and she said, I'm not sure, I don't know, and I remember being like, what? Because and you remember, I don't know who you were, but how I was in the 80s and 90s, I was a fundamentalist New Age guy. I mean, the crazier the thing was, the more I absolutely believed it was true. It's like, I mean, I
Development is
had
safe.
psychotic beliefs. I mean, really, that thing happened over there because I needed to see, it's like, no, it didn't. But
Yeah. What's the
but
lesson I'm supposed to learn in this tragedy? It's about me, right?
oh, well, get me started about the people who whether you do reincarnation or not. When people say, there are a few pet peeves I've gotten through the years. One is, I wonder what I'm supposed to learn from this, and my response to that always is, supposed to learn according to whom, and
Yeah, you were the one that came up with the shoulds. You don't should on yourself.
well, yeah, well, you go like and they have a well, and I mean, people can have comfort and they can say, well, there's God, and that you do that, but I think you miss out even with you can keep God in there, and what I say is, and this is where it's I'm an accidental therapist. I never meant to do this for a living. This was an accident. I got into this, but I was an English major. I was going to be a writer, and that was it. But so I use my English major in this sometimes, and I change people's language. And one of the ways to change language is change the questions you ask. You'll get better answers. And so one of the things I'll ask people to at least try on is, rather than what am I supposed to learn from this, is what can I learn from this? And what all can I learn from this? So first of all, what am I supposed to learn means we're like doing this little Easter egg hunt where we're looking for one thing. We want to get the right one.
Golden
It's like,
egg, the golden egg.
yeah, and it's like it's I mean, it's really distracting from everything else. But it's like, if I say, what can I learn from this? It's like, then it's up to me. There's all kinds of lessons you can learn from anything. So I love doing that. I don't
And
know where we
they used to
where I
call
got.
that in social work school reframing, but it's a natural thing to do
Yeah, it is reframing. I never thought about that. You're right.
to really look outside of what they're talking about and with them and try to help them open up and be creative in their minds
Hmm.
or whatever about how they interpret the world. I think that is part of the thing we've done is help them.
Well, there are things like that. That's a good example of something where something as simple as that can make, if it depends on the person and the timing of the person in their life. But if that, changing that question, just say that rather than what am I supposed to learn? What can I learn? Or I have a thing I started writing about after the 9/11 thing called positive opportunism, which is living your life according to the question, after something horrible happens, you know, um, how can I use this to become a better person? And just things like that, and you get something like that, I think it kind of changes your belief system. I don't mean belief like belief that, oh, this is the way it is. When I say belief, um, you remember Bendel? Did you
Yeah.
know Bendel Wilson? Well, Bendel Wilson was a wise guy. He's also gone. It's like,
Did
but many things he taught me, but one of the things he used to say is beliefs are choices. And what he meant by that, it seems an obvious thing, but we meant by that is is you don't, contrary to what some people do, you don't, what you believe in doesn't have to be the objective truth. It doesn't have to be the only truth, and it doesn't have to even be true. It's like it's you're choosing to believe something, and it doesn't. It's not. No belief needs to be in competition with another belief. It's like, and you do not. I do not need you to believe what I believe in order for my belief to be okay. And I love that idea because I use just the example because one of the primary beliefs that I have, and I think probably you and I share this one in common, is that we're here to learn. Just having that belief is it true? I'll say, like the woman we asked about reincarnation, is it true? I don't know. It's like, but what I do know is it seems like a very productive way to live because I'm looking for things. I'm looking for things that can help me grow.
Yes. Now, it makes me want to go out on a limb, so to speak, and say,
Hmm.
besides death of friends and family and loved ones, should we talk about conflict in the world? Should we on this video, and we don't have to. What would you think about talking about the state of our world and the chaos and corruption and all of that in any kind of thumbnail sketch that we could share some of our beliefs?
Right. Well, I appreciate you bringing that up. Because I get very little attention to this particular piece, but on my website, I have a page called Therapy for Politics, and and that's what it is. It's not therapy for politicians so much as it's therapy for politics in the bigger picture. So yeah, well, because the way that and that's the way I feel like I have something to say about. I have very strong political beliefs and can get in there and debate and argue those kinds of things, but I don't think I have anything unique to contribute to that. But in terms of what I've done with therapy for politics is basically and this is an oversimplification, but taking the work that I've done through the years with couples, with families, with mainly with couples, teaching, because couples, it's always process. It's like they get very frustrated sometimes because I'm not listening to what the content is. Can't you, no, we're talking about he didn't get the clothes at the dry cleaner. It's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I got that. But it's like we're trying to figure out. I say it's not what you're talking about, it's how you're talking about it. And that's my job. And you're gonna be frustrated with it, but I'm gonna keep focused on that. And it's gonna remain process. And the thing is, and I remember I took this one specifically, I think, from Harville Hendricks and Imago therapy, is you really can't solve a problem unless you're on the same side of the problem. And so I have a little one-liner that says you can't solve problems from an adversarial position. You can win battles, but you can't solve problems. And so to me, when I go with the therapy for politics is how can we begin to influence, because the politicians are not the problem. We are the human beings who don't think very well, and I don't, and I'm not, and sure, I mean, truth is, if you say, do I think better than somebody else who disagrees with me politically? Well, of course I do. It's like, but I do not take myself out of the line when I say that human beings, we're stupid in a lot of ways. We're not, and I don't think it's stupid like we have to be. It's just like we are very stubborn. We are very stuck in our ways of communicating, and we have to change how we communicate in order to heal things. You know, I mean, one of the things you probably didn't even mean to go on in presentation, but I've said this for years, and this is just going to be true forever for us, for our lifetime. You know, we live in a supposedly a civilized world where even the politicians that I support, um, these people are still of the belief that there are times where it is okay to kill large numbers of people. It's like, you know, it's like, I mean, I don't know how it all works, but I'm pretty sure we're missing the point when we think it's okay to go kill people. and I don't think we're really solving any problem unless we can go address ultimately some of all the way down into that. And
Well, the question is then how, like with a couple or a country or two countries, do you help people not be adversarial and get on the same side of a problem or find the common ground, as politicians will say, so that they can work together? And I know that's a monumental task.
yeah, but it's like that, but well, because see, that's the question, and that's so that's the as therapists, as we walk into a session, we're organizing our thoughts and our choices of what we're going to do around some question, and that's a great question to have in mind as you start that. How can I help these two entities get to this place? It's and the idea is like for me, there are people who says, like Mark, what's his name, who wrote Nonviolent Communication, Marshall.
Um,
It's
I, I,
it's it's it's
I'm a
uh,
James Foster.
it's wonderful. He's an amazing person. I'm trying to think of his last name, or I think his last name was Marshall. But it's like, but the book is called Nonviolent Communication, and it's like, and he's done this for a long, long time, and he'll take you through and basically even he's worked with nations as well as individuals with this stuff, and will show they'll say here are the things that have to happen. I certainly have not. I'm not equipped to do that, but I love working. I love doing this. I love doing this work, and so the idea of getting in there and experimenting with how we can do that is good. And there's lots. I mean, I in among this stuff that's on my website, the Therapy for Politics. There's one part that's a proposal that I wrote for TV producers several years ago. That is the idea of the idea of the show would be you would get a Republican Democrat to be guests on the show who have basic disagreements, and they basically would agree to give the therapist a significant amount of authority about what they're going to talk about and not talk about. And so we're going to put them in a harness, and we're going to do that. And we're going to, and I'm going to, and I don't know, I never knew if I was going to be the therapist or somebody else would be, but it's like, it would be, that we're going to get these people to a place where they could break through to a place of some point of agreement where they could have at least an experience of being on the same side of the problem. Because of course, the same side of the problem is we're all human beings, and we have that in common. And so probably my better answer to how to do that is in that thing. And I haven't read it in a long time. So, but I do hope some people who are listening will go read some of that. I hope you'll go read it and let me know what you think, because I forget that it's out there because it's gotten so little attention over the years.
Right. And that would be a great thing to do for the whole world. If someone could
Mhm.
and get people to agree, even to be in the same room together and listen, besides just talk and stuff,
Right, right.
and stick with.
Marshall Rosenberg, that's his name. And yeah, and that's exactly what he does. He gets people to listen.
That's
And I mean, it's complex how to get there, I guess, in a way, but it's not complicated. I mean, and like we say in AA, it's like it's simple, not easy. You
yes.
know,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and let me say your website, because I didn't say that earlier. And
Okay.
it's tomrutledge.com, and Tom is
Hmm.
THOM, Rutledge,
Right. Right.
RUTLEDGE.com. Yes. And I'll look,
Yes.
I didn't see the politics, Therapy for Politics page, and
Hmm. Hmm.
and we're going to have to wind up soon, but I'm having so much fun. I don't want to, but I do need to.
Well, I hope we've done something that you had in mind.
Huh?
I hope we've accomplished something you had in mind.
Think so. And there's just so
Okay.
much more to talk about. But anyway,
I
yes,
know.
wonderful. Do you have anything else you want to say about your practice or you that would help you attract the clients that you want to work with?
Uh, No, I don't think think of anything. If people, I would tell people if they're interested in what we call these days emotional sobriety. It's like that's the name of our my podcast, and you can get it from basically any place you get podcasts from, Apple, Spotify, whatever. But it's called Emotional Sobriety, and it's a weekly podcast where we talk about. And emotional sobriety is a lot of things, but it's really mainly how to be a grown up.
Yes, which
Yeah,
so many of us didn't want to be for so long.
right.
Yeah.
But
And
it's
now that
it's
we're
like,
getting older, we can be more at ease with it, perhaps. So
exactly.
thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
I
Thank
appreciate it.
you.
Let's
Mhm.
do this again sometime. And
Okay.
thank you for your willingness. Some people respond to me by saying, "Ooh, I don't want to be in the public eye," and and all that. But I knew that you would be okay with it. Thank you.
I'll go. I'll meet you on the street and we'll go just do something to attract attention. I don't care. We'll have a good time.
Thank you,
So
Tom.
good
And
to see you.
I will send you a video. And everybody who's listening, if you want to subscribe, please do. And otherwise, we'll see you another time.
Yep.
Hey, Tom, say
See
hi
you.
to me.
I will.